I built Super Earth from Helldivers 2 in Minecraft. Ever since I finished building Levelon Creek, I've been itching to build another Helldivers 2 project. When the Illuminate invaded Super Earth, I couldn't stop... You know, I'll just leave that in the video. I couldn't stop myself from thinking, I need to build this in Minecraft. Like, right now. It was always my intention to build the Illuminate next, as my original plan was to build Calypso. But the invasion of Super Earth is an opportunity I couldn't pass up. And what better way to rebuild the burned cities of Super Earth by recreating them in Minecraft? Also, I think it's so funny that the community agreed to name a city Gun. Like, just Gun. This video will be split up into 6 chapters. The roads, the buildings, pasting the buildings, small details, building the Overship, and finishing the project. Hopefully my dumb self remembered to add chapters to the actual description of my video so you know where those are at. One thing I should mention is that I worked with Red Monster Thing, who had previously built the Illuminate dropships and the harvesters before I even started this project. So unfortunately, I won't have video of that, but here's some quick screenshots. Okay, really important. I am planning on releasing the world download, but only after I get 10,000 likes on this video. You guys were extremely supportive on my previous Minecraft project, and I think it's only fair that you give me a like and a sub, and I give you a free world download. All right, that's good enough. Let's get started. This step is probably the most straightforward part of the project, because this really is just mapping out the layout of the city. The only issue I had at this time was I needed to go back and fix the intersections. I also should mention this shot will be the only one without shaders, because I forgot to enable them. I'm sorry. Here we go. Something I should mention about the buildings is that I don't know if they are the correct scale. This is partly to blame because shortly after beginning the project, you could no longer dive to Super Earth. But more importantly, I am too lazy to go and really do research to see what the lore accurate scale is. Please don't flame me for that. I really don't want to deal with that. Something that's also important to recognize is Super Earth and other megacities generally have the same buildings copied and pasted. This makes my job way easier while making this project because I basically only need to build one city block and then copy and paste different buildings and rearrange them. So just to clarify, I'm not being lazy if you see the same building over and over again, because Arrowhead does it too. I also need to clarify, none of these buildings will have interiors because, again, Arrowhead didn't make interiors, so I don't even know what they would look like. This particular building that I'm working on may as well be the most unique building in the entire city, mainly because of its angle. It's kind of has that weird overhang thing at the top, and it kind of sticks back a little bit at the bottom. Most of the buildings that appear in the city are going to be a medium height, because generally I notice that there is very minimal amounts of small and tiny buildings, and then the minority of buildings are the very tallest. Now, this next building I thought was the tallest, but it's not. You'll see why in a bit. I find it very funny as the buildings get bigger, they get less and less detailed. And again, that's not an issue on my part, that's an issue on Arrowhead's part. Here's proof, maybe. I don't know what the image looks like right now. Is there even any images on screen? My goal generally isn't to build every single building that exists in the game. My goal is to build Super Earth in spirit, that when you go on the streets and when you see the buildings around you, you think in your head, this is Super Earth. So to accomplish that goal, I'm focusing on building generally 3 variations of different heights of buildings. So 3 small buildings and 3 medium-sized buildings and 3 tall buildings. I know there's a lot more variation, but I don't care. One building particularly in the game looks very similar to a PlayStation 5. I will admit this building in Helldivers is a little bit more curved than what I built in Minecraft, but generally I think it still gives off the same vibe. I felt like this tall building needed a lot of signs because I noticed in game there's a bunch of red warning signs and emergency labels and stuff, and also some advertisers were still running. Hey you want a new fast recon vehicle? This part of the project is generally very straightforward. However, it was very time-consuming to paste in every single building. I initially started with using the stamp tool from Axiom to paste in the majority of the buildings you see in the background. But on the street, I would have to paste in every single building individually, otherwise it would look really weird and ununiform because the space in between buildings wouldn't be consistent. And that's mainly just because of the nature of the stamp tool. The other thing I did was also add intentional repeating patterns. The reason why I did this was to make things look less random and more thought out, like if somebody was actually building a real city. Now, to prepare for the future of the rest of the project, I preemptively destroyed some buildings to make room for some of the Illuminate camps. I also added markers for where POIs and main objectives were going to go, although you won't be able to necessarily see that. I was a dummy and didn't record. Using dark blocks to make it look charred and burned, and also using Axiom's tool, which I believe is Slope, made it very, very quick to tear down the city and make it look like it's been invaded. Over here, we just added a row of the exact same building. This is really important that we have similar buildings right next to each other because it does break up the randomness, which is very important when wanting to make a city look real. A large chunk of my time was definitely saved just with the ability to copy and paste all of the buildings that I've made. Without Axiom, I truly wouldn't even have considered beginning this project at all. Man, with how much I hype Axiom up, you'd think it'd be sponsored. Remember earlier when I said I thought I had built the tallest building? Well, this is actually the tallest building, and it's pretty isolated. In Helldivers, I noticed only like 1 or 2 of these buildings, and I'm sad to report that it's not very detailed at all, even in game. Like I said before, I'm not being lazy. This is just what I could see with my eyes. Oh, sorry. I kind of forgot I was supposed to say something right there. This part genuinely is just so satisfying to watch. Just everything getting filled in. It's kind of distracting. All of the blank spaces there, okay, hold on, are meant for POIs and main objectives. Guys, I'm being serious when I told you I did not mean to reference Taylor Swift. I swear. I swear I only even know the name of that song because I have a sister who's a Swiftie. I'm still very much a masculine man. Very, very masculine. Mayo, I'm going to kiss you when I find you. The first small detail I wanted to do was street lamps. However, later I would come back and completely replace these, as these first drafts don't really look that great overall. The very annoying part of this is that I didn't internalize I didn't like these until I pasted every single one in. Meaning later, I would have to remove an entire city's worth of street lamps. For now, I decided to just move on to other details. Guys, I'm not even kidding. When I stand still right there, I am sitting there for hours. I must have left and watched a movie or something, but there legitimately is footage of me just sitting there for hours at end. And so, lesson of the day, don't record when you're doing something else. With Super Earth in particular, there is not as much POIs as on a regular mission. There's really only 3 different varieties, especially for the Illuminate. One of them is the radio station, which is what I'm building here. Right across from the radio tower is Extraction. Later I would come back and change a small thing with Extraction, that is there's a custom building next to it, and I wanted to add that. I should also mention I'm not adding everything to every POI right now. And the reason why I'm not doing that is because as the details get smaller, I have less expertise, so I would summon Red Monster Thing to come help me out in those areas. So right now, I'm just going to focus on the broad strokes of each POI. The big circles and cylinders and the big triangles and squares, those kinds of things, just so that we generally get the right shape of what's supposed to go there. I don't know exactly what this is called. I'm going to call it the Illuminate Cloud Disruptor thing, the Illuminate Cloud of Disruption. This was really fun to build because I did figure out a couple things with the tool, the Noise Brush, and that made it really easy to just make all of the lights and the different glass and stuff. Hey, I didn't finish. Building the Overship was a team project. Me and Red Monster Thing decided that I would be doing the overall shaping and the big strokes again, and if necessary, Red Monster Thing was to build the small details. In the meantime, what he would be doing is building the Illuminate normal ships, while I just kind of work on the shape a little bit more. This particular ship was really challenging for me because I have a hard time with organic shapes. Said every single Minecraft builder. builder. But another issue was that it's also hard to build stuff like this at scale and make it look good. This was one of the bigger projects I've ever done, and it was just kind of hard to eyeball all of it and still make it look like the reference picture. One thing I also should probably mention is that because I've been eyeballing this, it is definitely 100% not to scale. Like, I didn't even check. I just wanted to make it look good. The other concern was if we were to make it really, really big, it might not even fit in the city because of the world height limit. And I don't have a mod that changes that yet. In hindsight, I really should have just made it a little bit bigger, but ultimately, I think it gets the job done. Overall, this was a really fun part of the project for me because it felt really cool to see something come to life that I wasn't confident building at first. With the Overship pasted in, everything was coming together really, really quickly. One of the steps that you can see, maybe not very clearly, but we are pasting in cars, replacing the lamps, and adding the street lights and the overseers and harvesters. We are in the final stretch. Pretty much everything after this is basically just small details, but we still have some POIs and Leviathans left to build. At this point in the project, some of you may remember watching some of this on stream. If there are some of you who haven't, you can go check out my full VOD in my live section, and you can see kind of the real-time experience and mentality that I had when building this kind of stuff. It was also very interesting for me to build the main objective here at an angle. For the few people who are wondering why I procrastinated this video so long, this is the reason why. It's the Leviathan. For the longest time, I couldn't figure out how to do this that well, and I think that's mainly just out of anxiety and not really a skill issue. One of the reasons this was so hard for me was because it's very organic and very flowy and gentle slopes and stuff that are hard to do in Minecraft. But when Red Monster Thing came and helped with the project, he did a lot of the shaping really, really well, which I'm very, very thankful for. One thing that made this easier was the fact that we only built one side. That way, when we finished one side, we could just flip it, and it saved us so much time. We did have to go back and redo some of this mainly because of an accident. One of us accidentally controlled Z or something, and there was something that made it so we couldn't really undo a certain mistake, so we had to re-add details that we had before. But ultimately, we got there in the end, and I think this looks the most accurate out of everything here that I've built. Kinda wish I made one that was turning. We are on the final step. The final step is adding the rest of the POIs. This one in particular is the monolith looking thing, I guess. No, it's not the monolith, because the monolith is that's a main objective, I'm pretty sure. So this is like a disruptor tower thing, but for the Illuminate, which is, I need to know exactly what that's called. That'd be very good for the video, but I don't know which one it is. Anyways, what else has been going on? I guess I built an entire car while I said that. I almost forgot to build the Stingray until I believe a viewer told me that it even existed, which is a nice little fun fact. After building the Stingray, I would go on to add some explosions and some beacons to give the illusion that something is actively happening. With this done, this marks the end of the project. Wait, hold on. Wrong time lapse. Here, let me just, give me a second. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. I normally don't make these kinds of videos, and I'm not sure if I'm going to do another video like this. So if you would like me to do another, please comment below what you would like me to do and if I should even do another one. Otherwise, in the meantime, you can enjoy my general content, my general gaming content. Also, remember, if this video gets 10,000 likes, I will drop the world download for free.